Alrighty, a very small group today, but this is me once again, Mostrino. This is my voice.
I'm Kovak.
And I'm Katz.
And this is the very tiny catalog. Talking right before we started recording, we were talking a little bit about albums and EPs that we've been waiting a long time for. We talked about Wizard of Oz, the Laszlo album, the Riot album, which we've had way back. And then, of course, Tristram's album, which chances are is going to be very different style if he ends up actually releasing it.
Absolutely, yeah. I genuinely think Tristram hasn't developed an entirely different sound in this time, probably.
Yeah.
If anything, it's going to be similar to Questions, but maybe even not. So, I don't know. Who knows at this point?
True.
Is it even going to be released on the label? Do we know? Or
I don't know if we know, because I don't think he actually has released anything since Questions. I can double check, but I don't think he's released any music at all.
No.
Off late.
Other than I think he helped produce the Broken track that was released a few years ago.
Mm-hmm. There's that too. I completely forgot that that was a thing.
Alan Walker looking at.
True.
True.
All right, I'm checking his SoundCloud, and his SoundCloud's actually very, very barren. There's only 3 songs on there, which is Truth from 7 years ago, Flight from 7 years ago, and then a preview of Everlasting from 2 years ago. And those are the only things on his SoundCloud.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And he also has his face on it. Since when was he open about his face? I don't know. Things are getting kind of wacky.
Probably Questions. It was the first time.
Yeah, I remember when everyone was crazy about who is this guy back in 2015 or whatever. Someone even asked Rogue in a Q&A. They're like, "Can you show us Tristram's face?" And he's like, "No." Yeah,
That's That's the whole Burial thing. If you don't know who Burial is, he's the big garage artist. Sort of has a lot of his unique style, and I think there's a whopping total of 2 images of him on the internet, and he's been massive for more than a decade at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then of course all of the aliases where you're trying to figure out who's the artist. We've had a handful on Monster Cat, and then of course there's been a few off of the label. One of the notable ones being 1788-L, as he'd like us to pronounce it for some reason. But remember, he popped out of nowhere, and everyone was scrambling to figure out who he was.
Yeah, I remember.
When I read that name, nothing comes to mind. I don't even pronounce it. That's there. Way too complicated.
Yeah.
But I remember, I think it was January 2018 when he first started to pop up with his Daft Punk remix. And I remember listening to it the first time and thinking, what is this garbage? It's probably my first experience of that sort of industrial techno genre, because I don't even think that I'd listened to Rez at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So this was my only experience, and it was the most ear-rapey, loud, sort of noisy version of it.
Yeah, I think I had, if I had heard Rez before listening to him, I think it was probably just 1 or 2 tracks, because that wasn't really the only person who was making it was Gesaffelstein, or however you pronounce his name, and I wasn't listening to him a whole lot, and it really didn't become big until 2018.
Yeah, I got first introduced to Rez. I think it was Edge, one of her older tracks, but that's about it. I never really listened to her a whole lot until I discovered the rest of her discography with Certain Kind of Magic.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that one, I liked it back in the day. I don't really care much about it now, but that's when I really started listening to that kind of genre. And with Hex, I discovered whatever you can pronounce 1788L.
Yeah.
And that's when I never really got into that style because I thought it was a bit annoying, but Hex was good, so I listened to his discography, and yeah.
Yeah, I think I found him like the majority of people did through The Sound of Where'd You Go, when a lot of people brought him out of nowhere, and then that's when he kind of started getting huge. But then all of a sudden, then you see the style coming on to places like Monster Cat with Intercom. I think did his Cold Skin remix around that time, and then it started becoming more popular over here. And now you have like 2 of those style tracks in UV9.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how like almost like, I guess that especially like in that trend, you see like all the big artists really haven't changed at all in their style for like the past 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
and it's really just like a cycling of new artists that just replace them.
yeah, because even like I guess I'll take the example from UV9 Busted Out. If you're comparing it to something from 1788L, however you say it's EP, like it's pretty similar. Of course, you know, like there's different like artistic styles and whatnot, but like we talked about yesterday with genre versatility, I definitely say it's one of the ones that's less versatile when you compare it to like Future Bass or one of the other ones we mentioned.
Yeah, like one thing about this like industrial or like mid-tempo style is that really most tracks are really similar, and what happens there is that I really don't come back to them a whole lot because I don't really find them interesting or unique at all, because they do like the same thing of like this wall of noise. So
Although I will say that I think Rez's style is a little bit different than like the wall of noise type style with like I don't know, with like the weird basses where it's still dark but it's not like as gritty, aside from like the Hex and those collabs. But I think that style's like less popular, and it's not like the face of the style, I guess.
Yeah, like you see, like Rez is really like the only artist that still like makes that kind of stuff. Other like even Gesaffelstein himself doesn't even make that anymore.
Yeah, he's doing stuff like Blast Off, or I'm sure you guys have heard that one, right?
Yeah, there is like almost I think it was the closer off that album, which was like this 10-minute long ambient, like almost rock sort of thing that reminded me a lot of Daft Punk's latest album, and I love that track, but everything else is just so boring.
Yeah, I'm looking through the sheet, and a lot of the stuff that we have labeled as that is that kind of wall and noise stuff, like Violence. We had Interludem, which is really good, but it definitely has that same kind of sound design. Amnesia is a perfect example. Pixel Terror.
Yeah.
Of like, the kind of where it's not like the Rez style where it's dark but not as gritty. This instead is a lot harsher, I guess.
Yeah. See, the thing in my opinion with Amnesia that makes it like stand out above the rest is that you have like very similar drops, but it has a Pixel Terror flair that is generally very good.
Yeah.
And like, in my opinion, that drop is like the worst part of the track, maybe, but it's still pretty solid. Though you have like, it's not that as unique as the rest of the track, I'd say, and that's what makes it stand out. Obviously, at least for me, it kind of falls a bit flatter in comparison to Soda, and that compilation, because I just love Soda so much. But again, Amnesia is pretty standout in my opinion.
Yeah. And then the second drop is kind of different. It's not like the whole wall of noise thing. It has like the little like plucky arp going on, which is kind of different. So it has that going for it as well.
Yeah, and that's like really cool, and it really showcases how creative Pixel Terror are with the tracks. Oh, I really had some difficulty pronouncing that. Holy shit. That's when you're not used to using that type of R, usually.
Yeah. True. I think something that I've noticed a lot with the like the artists that are duos is that they tend to be a lot more unique and inventive, which I think might have something to do with like them bouncing ideas off of each other. One that comes to mind really easily is Camo and Crooked, or Camo and Crooked. I don't know exactly how you say their name, but like they've been doing a whole lot of weird stuff with drum and bass, and you know, like testing a lot of like the boundaries, and you can hear like both of their influences kind of pushing it, which I think is kind of a neat thing to see, which is similar to what Pixel Terror has been doing.
Yeah, definitely. Most duo tracks feel very unique. There's obviously some exceptions, but a lot of duo tracks feel really like interesting. And even though they may not be the most unique stuff, they're definitely doing something right, at least.
Yeah.
To like stand out. Like I'd say Echo, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, Pegboard Nerds, I guess.
Yeah, because even Pegboard Nerds, like throughout their discography, they've really tested almost every genre. Like they've put their feet here and there, and they've done stuff from Pink Cloud to Here It Comes, where they're, you know, like they've been trying to, if not push the boundaries, to at least experiment with different stuff that they might, like different styles they might not have done before, which I think is something pretty neat. Because if you compare it to, I'm going to bring up a recent one like Reaper. Like, yeah, a lot of people are a fan of Reaper's tracks, but as far as experimenting, he's been very, very comfortable with his releases on the label, at least, because they've all been kind of a very similar style.
Yeah, and that's mostly why I love Unhinged so much, because it feels so different from his other discography, from like the rest of his discography. And yeah, sure, it's not my favorite. I still love Barricade, but it's just so different. You can't really slide it under the rug. Oh, another duo, now solo, Kiro.
Yeah.
But Kiro, I'd say most of their discography is like has similar styles, but they usually experiment with different kind of drops. Like you have Raptor, Possession, and Swarm. So like all of them are really different.
Bad Habits.
Bad Habits. Yeah, that one was not good. 2019 though was a fairly experimental year for them.
Yeah.
But even though they might have not had the best tracks, Can We Be Freak Off? But
and if you're thinking of like Horns, that doesn't even sound like anything on the label. Like that's a completely, like, I don't care for Horns, but I will give it that the production is so weird and definitely something new.
Yeah, and then you have stuff like Greed, which is off label, which sounds like just a bass house artist. And then you have She's Got a Gun, which is, yeah, it's Kiro's solo, but it's still like really different.
Yeah. And I'd be willing to bet that when they started She's Got a Gun, it was still the two of them. I'd be willing to bet, and then that Kuro as a solo just finish it off on his own.
Yeah, I think the new one, the Crash and Burn, is probably only Look, but it's good too.
Yeah. Doesn't She's Got a Gun also have Grant on it?
Yep, Grant.
Yeah.
It says co-written here. I don't know if that means co-produced or if he wrote the lyrics or whatever, but he certainly worked on it, to say the least.
Yeah, kind of like Kiro worked on his newest track on Distraction.
Oh.
That's
Yeah,
neat.
because since they share like an apartment together, I think they usually like help each other or something. But that's pretty cool. We might even see a collab from them.
Yeah, what if Kuro becomes a duo, but Grant is now the person making the duo? Ooh.
Ooh, plot twist.
Kuro actually just becomes a future bass act.
It would be kind of, I mean, of course we've seen like them work together, but really for the most part it hasn't been a blend of their styles. Like with Warning Signs, it was just his vocals, I believe. But if we saw like a blend of like Kuro's darker style and Grant's like sound design, we could get something really, like, I'm thinking of The Edge right now. Like we could get something like The Edge again, and it could be so good.
Like, yeah, because the Edge is incredible. So honestly, it sounds like a pretty like weird mix of styles, but if they could make it work, it would be amazing.
Yeah.
Like we could get something like Afraid of the Dark, but more a bit brighter or something. I'd say they'd lean more to the darker side because Kuro, but I don't know. Grant is just such a unique and like good artist that
Yeah.
I sound like I'm like overrating him a bit, but honestly, like, because you hear all these people saying like, "Oh, the community loves Grant so much," but it's genuinely like he's such a strong producer. Like he's, even though you might not like his tracks, you have to admit that his like production and like the quality of his tracks is usually above average. So
And even when you like, because like I remember when Grant Bowtie was releasing, you know, under that alias, a lot of people loved his tracks, but I found them to be pretty samey and a lot of them to be kind of forgettable. Like, granted, haha, pun, he had some good ones, but when he came back, I wasn't a huge fan of I forget the name of the one that he debuted with.
Wake Up?
Yep, Wake Up. I wasn't a huge fan of it, although I did like the intro, but then as he kept releasing, I could tell that he had improved a lot during his break and that he's really been, you know, working on his craft and excelling as an artist.
because Wishes as an EP is such a like different EP from what we usually get on the label, especially like Wishes and Where Will We Go feel very like off-putting when you compare it to like some stuff on the label.
Yeah.
But it works out so well. It's actually like ridiculous how well it works out.
I remember back in March, this is like the best way that I've seen anyone hype up a song, by the way, but it was like really early March, about like 2 weeks before Wishes released, and at the end of every single Grant song on Spotify, it played like a very short teaser of Wishes.
Nice.
Like through like radio static, I think it was. I always thought like that's like the best way that you can hype up a song.
That's amazing.
Wishes was like hyped up so long because it was in production for several years, and then although the thing that I found kind of wacky is that when Color came out, everyone was still kind of crazy about it, and I thought it's a very neat song, but at least in my opinion, I think Wishes is a few grades above it. But that's definitely the time when he when he was, I guess, the center of attention, so to say. And then afterwards, we got Just a Gent. Everyone was freaking out over him being on.
I am so excited for that that collab that he has with Smile that's supposed to release on Monster Cat.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's gonna be so good. Like
That, yeah.
Especially
you
if
have
it's like Found a Reason type style, you know?
like it could be like a fusion between that and maybe like, I don't know, Open Spaces or Iris in the Dark, and it'd be actually incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but going back to the Grant thing, like Wishes. When Wishes first came out, I wasn't really into the label at that time. I got into the label like later on March, I think it was, and it didn't click with me at first. So I preferred Color for most of the year, but then I don't know what. When I heard it in Rocket League, I don't know, I just gave it another shot, and it really, really clicked with me. So,
yeah, I didn't. Yeah, when I first heard it, I thought it was good, but I was like, I don't get why you guys think this is amazing or anything. But yeah, same thing for me. After a few listens, I got to really appreciate how much attention to detail there is in there, with all the atmosphere and the building, and just how pleasantly it resolves.
Yeah, I was one of those people who were like hyping it up, like listening to the preview like weeks before it came out and was hyping it up for like the longest time. So I was like, I was on that immediately.
I know I mentioned Steel by Pegboard Nerds last time, but another one that they had a preview going for a while, and so then when it finally came out, I was able to enjoy it a lot more than if I hadn't heard it before, was Comeback by Falcon Funk and Boss Fight. That one they had a Snapchat preview or something for a while, so I was able to recognize it. So that was kind of neat.
Fool still has
that track.
Yeah, see. Also, Fool still has a collab with Clockvice that he premiered in a Apple Music mix for his EP last year. That's yet to come out.
Oh, that's neat. That could be pretty cool. Although I will say, at least in my opinion, I feel like Clockvice has been kind of weak on Monster Cat, but some of the stuff that he's done off label is really good.
I'm still waiting for a solo Clockvice track on Monster Cat, but I don't know if it's ever gonna happen because it may happen, but his stuff usually takes a more experimental turn.
Yeah, I remember
in All Night you can listen to he takes over the last drop, and it feels very weird, but it's really good.
Yeah, I was gonna say I remember when Smog came out, and we were all hoping that Vorso would come back again for another release, but unfortunately it was not to be. But that would have been really hype if we got Vorso doing stuff over here.
Smog is so good. It's not even Vorso's best, not even close.
Yeah,
but in comparison, it's really good.
I can't believe that was also Droptek's last track on the label too. He hasn't released anything since January 2018. That's kind of crazy to think about because he was always a household name Monster Cat artist.
Yeah, and then he released his EP LP on off label.
And then recently he had a track on NCS actually.
Oh yeah.
So that was kind of interesting.
That one was pretty nice, I guess. I didn't care much for it.
Yeah.
I do gotta say though, I like the album.
I was gonna mention how I guess looking back, he hasn't had a lot of significant releases on label aside from his very last ones with Smog, of course, and then Fragments EP was fantastic. But if we're looking before that, I can't really remember any ones that were too great unless I'm forgetting of a really good one.
Yeah, just looking at people only remember Rupture because it was the first song that had the new artwork and art format.
Yeah.
And layout.
I personally like a lot The Covenant. I'm personally a huge fan of that track, but nah, it's not everybody loves that track, so
yeah,
it's not a standout track.
Yeah, looking back over here, we have his old stuff, Bang, Explode, and then that EP. Then Jukebox Nightmares is actually kind of a popular one. I know some people enjoy that one. And then not necessarily no one, but not a lot of people really cared about What's Going On. I think that one was considered one of the his weaker ones. And then
that a lot
of people forgot about Boundaries. The only one that I saw in here that I actually do kind of enjoy, although it is forgettable, but I do kind of enjoy it, is Killing Time. That's a pretty nice one. But yeah, I think really peak Droptek is Fragments kind of EP. I think that's some of the best stuff he's put out on the label, at least, in my opinion.
I came back to the EP so much. It's so good. Every single track is standout, I'd say. I like Fragments a whole lot, though.
Yeah.
That's my favorite one.
Fragments is
it's so different.
Good.
It's so different. I love it. It's such a unique track. And yeah, Droptek started releasing more and more unique stuff as the time progressed, I'd say. Especially with Smog and that EP. But then he kind of just stopped releasing on the label. Yeah. It might have been that his style turned a bit too experimental for the label, so
true.
I don't know.
Could be.
There could have been a chance, I'm just going out on a limb here, but there might have been a chance for the LP to have originally been planned to be on the label, but was rejected or something.
Could be. Although I will say that if he came back right now, I think since we have Reaper and the Muzz album coming right out, even though I do prefer a lot of Droptek stuff over that, I think that would be kind of a bit of a drum and bass overload. Oh, also with Protostar.
Yeah.
And Bensley.
Yeah.
Oh, and Bensley.
And he has another track coming out on the label relatively soon. He previewed it on an Instagram takeover.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds more of like his Muskoka stuff. I don't know if you guys have heard of that album.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid album.
Yeah, it sounds more like that, so I'm really hyped. Even though I love All Night, I know it's a very divisive track because it's really different from what we usually get here in terms of drum and bass. So, because I don't know, I always I didn't really like it when I first heard it, but then I started noticing like how he uses the sirens and the bass line, and it's insane. Like Bensley is a really creative drum and bass producer.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he's releasing on the label because his drum and bass will probably be the freshest out of them all. Because Muzz sounds like the tried and true Muzz style, and Reaper's just producing the same track over and over, even though it's good.
Yeah.
But and then you have Protostar, which are like, yeah, they're good. But I don't really find myself coming back to them a whole lot.
Yeah, Protostar.
I'd say Isolation was his last standout track, in my opinion.
Isolation is quite, I do think Isolation is quite good, but yeah, definitely unless Muzz finds some way to switch it up in his album, I think things are going to get very samey very soon.
Yeah. I think also one thing that makes me somewhat excited, at least for Protostar, is that I remember when him as well as like Muzz and a bunch of other people just kind of brigaded the Hideout server for a day. He mentioned, and I think everybody seemed, or it kind of just went without a lot of notice, but he said something along the lines of like, oh, everyone says my last two tracks are really generic and boring. And it's like, wait till you see my next one. It's going to blow your mind. So something's interesting's coming up.
Another Have collab, maybe? That'd be good. Like Isolation Part 2.
It would be really cool if, not necessarily on the Protostar thing, but, Protostar used to do Neuro Hop in that kind of style. So I think it might be really cool if Reaper tries doing something like that. It would be something fresh and different, but still with his same, like, sound design, which is, I guess, what he's kind of popular for. And plus, we haven't had, like, glitch hop in a long time, I don't think. It's very scarce on the label right now. The last ones being the Glacier EP.
Sometimes I just wish that Abstract would just bring back his glitch hop from like 2014, like that style, and then just release a track. Like I was looking, he was on a Powered by Inspected, like the first Powered by Inspected.
And it doesn't sound anything like what were y'all thinking? Like it doesn't even sound like the same artist.
I'm checking right now. 2011 was like his first release. Oh, that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
But then he kind of just switched it up and started releasing Bass House.
Yeah. Oh my. Looks like, well, at least the ones that we have labeled on the sheet. The last Nero Hop track on the label was Echoes of the Past by Protostar. This was back when we were using the numbers for compilations. This was before we even got like UV1 or any of that.
Oh. Damn.
Yeah, that's quite a long time, honestly. If we got some sort of that style, I don't know. If of course, like there's ways that you could do it where it's not that great, but I think it would be nice to see a bit of a revival if that was possible.
Also, like jumping back to somebody mentioned Have, and I just want to point out that Have released like one of the best dubstep tracks of the year, and everyone's just kind of seemed to ignore it.
Is it the one with the Arcturians?
Yeah, the one on Audio.
Really good track.
It is.
It is, yeah.
Although I don't plan, or at least I don't expect them to be releasing solo stuff on the label. I don't think that's the route they go, but that would be kind of neat.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Especially because we've seen them like interacting with the community a whole lot. That might happen, but I don't think that it'll be like a frequent name on the label.
Yeah. Speaking of,
Also, we need to talk about the newer tracks that are gonna come out.
True. Yeah, we spoke a little bit about Broken Glass last week, but basically, I'm pretty sure the overall kind of view is it's not that good.
Yeah, it's just I sleep.
It's just a track for snoozing to.
Yeah, I don't know. Sabai needs to like step up his game a bit.
Yeah.
Like, at least when he did his Feels Like remix, or I think it was a remix of Feels Like, at least it was like a different style from what what he's doing now for like the past few tracks.
Yeah. But yeah, honestly, one thing that I've noticed a lot with his tracks is that the production quality tends to be a little bit below the average, which, you know, is kind of off-putting to say the least. So I don't know. I think if he just gets to, you know, get some practice, get grinding, and then hopefully can put out some standout stuff on the label.
Because right now his stuff has been, well, it's not that forgettable because people usually refer to him as like an example of a not great producer right now on the label, but but honestly,
Yeah, and I'd argue that Broken Glass might end up being the most forgettable out of the ones that he's released so far. Like, it's not even like the worst, but I think that it's might end up being one that, you know, people just forget is in his discography. Because Save You, we remember, is kind of like, okay, this is a bit of a step up. Kermode's doing a little bit over here. And then Million Days is, you know, his first release. So
very bad.
but at least people remember it. But I don't know. We'll see how Broken Glass ends up in. You know, like
I don't know. I even forgot it was releasing. So
yeah.
I already forgot about the new Hope Rocks track or Hope Rocks track.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I actually.
How did I forget about that one? I like it, but
last week when we were recording, I couldn't remember it from memory, but actually right now I can. So that's kind of neat, and I
same.
didn't listen to it too much.
And about the Stone Bank track, I'd say Stone Bank has been, I don't know, he has been consistently good while doing like hardcore stuff, hard sell track. But nothing has been like amazing besides SOS in my case, but I don't know if that's for everyone.
Yeah, I think the most recent thing that Stonebank put out, which actually kind of, I guess, I don't want to say impressed me because these ones, you know, they're not bad. But I think the one that really impressed me was his remix of Potions. I thought that was like, because that's a style that he really hadn't done before, and I thought that was really neat to hear.
I'm a hardcore sucker for Stonebank's like dubstep and drumstep, like Drop Bomb, Soldier, his Dream in Color remix, his Potions remix. Like, they're always ones that everyone just kind of forgets or kind of like just says like, oh, they're really basic, except for me.
I didn't really care much for his Potions remix, but I'm a fan of Drop Bombs, and yeah.
And I remember that he had actually, I think this might have been where Drop Bombs came from, where he had that ID Think You Know, and everyone was like crazy over it, and then I think like his hard drive corrupted or something, so he lost a whole lot of music, but then I think he was able to bring it back for Drop Bombs. And then the other one was the one he did with WizKid that I'm forgetting the name of.
Oh, Body Movin'?
Oh yeah, Body Movin'. That's another one that people weren't too crazy about, and I don't care for it much either, but that's definitely a very different style than what he's doing right now with the hardcore, or what he did with Life and Death with the whole kind of electro type stuff.
Yeah, honestly, Stonebank is like a very versatile artist. Like, he's touched a lot of styles. Like, you have, I don't know, Life and Death or / Dropping Low. You have Body Moving.
Let You Down.
You have Let You Down. Back to Start.
Stonebank really let us down with this one.
Let You
but
Down
Back
was
to Start is really good.
Back to Start is one of my favorite tracks on the label. It's so unique. You don't really have much like it on the label.
Mm-hmm.
And it's from Stonebank. And I really didn't expect that at all. Because you have like, I don't know, Stonebank has been such a fascinating artist to look at. Because you have such different releases. Because you have from, here you have him going from Soldier to Lift You Up.
Yeah, Lift You Up's also another really good one. But if you like take a look at his first track on the label, Eagle Eyes, like I don't think he's done anything like that in a while, and it's like kind of weird to see how he's even like gone into like that kind of melodic dubstep type style as well. So I guess on that, what do you think is probably your favorite style of the many ones that Stonebank has gone through?
Probably for me, it's what I said earlier, his like drum step, dubstep kind of styles that I wish he did more often.
Yeah.
I'd say that I've listened to Stonebank for such a long period of my life that I've had a lot of time to like listen to each style individually. So I'm not like I don't have a specific favorite. I just have like favorites within the styles.
Yeah.
Though I'd say the one that I've enjoyed consistently the most is probably his hardcore style. And my favorite one of those, I'd say SOS, but we'll see how it turns out. But right now it would be The Pressure or Stronger.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about The Pressure. It's so good.
Pressure,
yeah, The Pressure is amazing.
Him.
Yeah, same. I think my generally my favorite though might be a weird one, but it's probably Blast from the Past.
Yeah, I was about to mention how I think my favorite style from him is his kind of complexo style that he used to do with like Blast from the Past and The Entity, and then he kind of went back to it with that song on Rocket League and
that one.
But I think another thing that he used to do a lot, and he hasn't touched in years. I remember when this track in particular came out, but his like Moomba core style with Chokehold, which I remember when that one came out and everyone was crazy about it. Another Day, and what was the other one that he did with Concept? It was
Holding On to Sound.
Holding On to Sound. Because I mean, I want to mention Chokehold especially. That's such a catchy one that goes really hard, and it's just a really fun style. But he hasn't like, it came out in the end of 2015. He has not gone anywhere near that in a while, but it's a cool. It hasn't gotten into nostalgic territory yet, but it's still a very nice throwback track for me, at least.
We can't forget about the best track on the label, according to a certain man. Stonebank Ready.
Oh my God, Stonebank Ready.
Guys, Stonebank Ready.
Laugh at the funny phrase.
Please clap. But though, like, I kind of wish Stonebank did a lot more D&B because it's literally only been Ready and his Deeper Love remix.
Yeah, but I don't know. I didn't really love Ready. It was like the weaker track from the Monument EP, I'd say.
Like the Stone, I mean, his D&B stuff was all right, but yeah, I wouldn't say it's as standout as, I guess, what some of the other artists have done.
Might also be biased because Ready is probably like my favorite Stonebank track, and it makes me upset that it's now just a meme.
And one more that we all forgot about is another genre he's kind of experimented with a little bit. The Only One. He hasn't even just done the hardcore. He's also gone into the Kong hard style, which is kind of like what he's done with SOS and Time. But The Only One is very kind of it's
very old school hard style.
Yeah.
Though Time actually reminded me of The Only One quite a bit.
Yeah,
because it's very more like hard style lenient than SOS.
It's very much like a combo of The Only One and SOS.
Yeah, and it does feel like it takes all the cleanness from SOS, and it kind of like it doesn't really, I don't know, Stonebank. I don't know about time yet because I haven't given it much time to grow on me. But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess, because I respect it because it's fairly solid, but I'm not a huge fan of it right now because it feels kind of messy at times and like kind of off-putting.
Yeah,
compared to like his usual stuff.
That do be kind of how hardstyle goes sometimes.
That's why I'm not too big on hardstyle because it's, I don't know, I think the kicks are a bit sometimes and they're all kick centered. So
yeah, it's all about the Kong.
Yeah, and SOS is very Kong centered, but the kicks are so clean in that track. So,
and I'm looking at the hardstyle tracks you've gotten on the label, and we haven't really had a good rep. You know, right from the we got our favorite artist Neilio.
Oh God!
And then from last
we
Neilio
don't talk
track,
about that.
From the last Neilio track, we have a huge gap before we get our next hardstyle track, and it's the Atmospheres track, State of Mind. And then, of course, we had Hero thrown in there, and then the two remixes, the Alpha Vibes remix, everyone's favorite hardstyle remix, and then the Zatox, or however you pronounce it, remix of Legends.
Yeah, the Zatox. I actually like the Zatox remix at least more than the original.
Yeah, the original was not too
really
hot.
a great artist.
And then,
like, his new track isn't good at all.
We're talking about Razah. Oh yeah, you heard his one that he brought out like this week? That was
Black Mage.
I really don't want to waste my time listening to it, to be quite honest.
You don't need to. It's like a virtual Riot sample fest, but all thrown together in like a weird mush of stuff.
Yeah, like it's not even so bad it's funny, like Asian or something. It's just so bad it's bad. You know, it's just like some like generic chunky rhythm yoy kind of song.
Oh boy.
Because Power Up, I think, was his last one.
NCS, yeah, that one was not too bad. Like, it was alright. Yeah,
it was okay. It was listenable, but this one is not that listenable. No.
And then, did you guys hear his other one that has since been taken down, but the other rap song he made, yeah, I don't even know how to pronounce it, but
the Italian thing.
Yeah, the Italian one.
I haven't. Oh God, I haven't even listened to Asian. Like, I've just completely hopped off the Razahil train.
You should listen to it. It's not good, but I think it's entertaining at the very least. And he took down the music video, but then he brought it back up. So now the music video is back up, and I couldn't be happier.
Oh boy, I think I unironically. Yeah. I think I unironically know more Streaks songs than the Razahil songs.
Yikes!
Or no, and that's only because Streaks was like a commonplace artist on Spinnin' Records for like half a year.
Yeah, once he went to Streaks and made that Alone remix, it was the beginning of the end for Razahil.
Yeah.
Anyways, looking back at his discog, he had a pretty strong start. We started with Toothless Hawkins, and then right after One for All for One. Like, that's a pretty solid start. And
yeah, that's...
afterwards, you start getting a little not as good. After Children of the Night, which was alright, then you get Legends, Titans, Edge of the World, and then he's gone. That isn't... He has 12 songs on the label, which feels kind of weird, because I don't know. I had the impression that he had more. He just kind of seemed like a Monster Cat name, but I don't know. He had a very strong start and then started to trail off a little bit towards the end.
Not gonna lie, I just spent 5 minutes trying to find Streaks songs, and like the Streaks that I found on SoundCloud is actually just like an EDM repost thing. Like, nice. Literally, I just saw like Castaway by Grant re-uploaded.
Bro.
Amazing.
I think Streaks might not even have a SoundCloud anymore.
I can see why, to say the very least. Yeah,
it's oh no, never mind. Yeah, it's just gone. There's nothing.
don't have to burn our eyes now, bleach our eyes with the cover arts.
I don't think they even released the song that it came with. I think they just deleted it from the internet, which I am very happy for.
Yeah, because, like, you know, you can hate on, you know, let's say Half an Orange music videos, like, oh, they're cringe or whatever, but it's like, if you're comparing it to this, it doesn't even compare, you know? Like, this is just, like, outright outrageous, you know? Whereas, like, Half an Orange is like, hoo-hoo, Fortnite, haha. But then this is just, like, a completely different deal.
Also, I kind of like, I feel bad for Half an Orange sometimes, because like even like people like make fun of their music on the label a lot, but even if like it pales in comparison in how bad like some like garbage millennial pop is.
True.
Like at least they have like production value and like have like some like it feels like
some good tracks.
They have like good stuff. Oh god, I found the track. No, I'm not sending that.
Nice. Yeah, but now I got a little bit down because I remembered that we lost the footage of when I read the amazing AMA of
just read it again.
Yeah.
Read it again.
I think everyone deserves to hear this. So basically, we're talking about how even though like we're always cheering on Half an Orange's music because, you know, sometimes it's not the strongest, they're still chill about it. They don't get too salty about it. They take it lightly and they work to improve, which I find very respectable. And then we remembered how they had this little AMA in the past where the response was a little interesting. So if you haven't heard it, this user asks, you go to McDonald's, you order a delicious McChicken. However, it is absolutely drenched in what appears to be mayonnaise. You want to change your order, but you are out of money. Keep in mind that you do not know exactly what the substance is. It only appears to be mayonnaise. You are starving. Do you take a big bite? And then Half an Orange's beautiful response. This is from Michael. I appreciate the question, but I'd encourage you to spend your days thinking of more positive questions and discussions to have online. I know this is a meme question and meant to be funny, but I'd like to use the opportunity to say in general, I try and avoid eating animals. No judgment to those who do. Don't get me wrong, I'll occasionally cave and eat meat, but I'd encourage you all to look into the positive effects both on your body and the earth of eating just one vegetarian meal a week. Not even cutting meat from your diet, just eating one vegetarian meal a week. So to answer your question, no, I would not eat the McChicken. I would, however, order a McDonald's salad. If I couldn't afford the salad, I'd go home and prepare my own.
Legendary response.
And I think I also mentioned the No Mana and IO AMA, and I just something that I want to read, like just to add to one of my favorite lines is just, so somebody asks for No Mana, how did you come up with your awesome brand and what inspired it? Huge fan. No Mana says, brand was initially a joke when we used to play League of Legends together and not. Now it became a joke that's gone too far. IO then responds, your brand is a joke.
Ooh, yeah, it's kind of neat to see that they're not taking themselves too seriously. I know we mentioned about being like self-conscious and all, about how you know you're just taking it lightly because at the end of the day you're making money by making music, and the whole point is just, you know, to provide something that people can enjoy, and it's not necessarily like, you know, like you have this like whole universe that you've created or anything like that. You know, you just gotta put things in perspective.
I was actually, because originally we were talking about like new releases, and I think this is the first time in a very long while where we haven't had like really any consistent previews of what's up in the week.
True. Yeah, because we have a whole lot.
We have Throttle, which has nothing. We have the Muzz track on Thursday, but we don't even know the name. And then we have whatever Friday is.
Yeah, I think something on the sheet said something about like a bad computer and
Chasing Clouds. That was previewed a few times on the podcast. That I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, same. Bad computer. I don't think he's gonna beat out 2U anytime soon, but I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
Bad computer is a genius. He always comes out with something fresh and interesting.
Yeah.
Like especially this year, because you have like Clarity and To You and Riddle, of course. Yeah.
I was gonna mention though, like I mentioned earlier, I still think Sanctuary's kind of a whack one on his Discog because I don't think anyone ever remembers about it, and it's a nice track, but I don't know. I don't think there's as much going up for it as his other ones.
I feel like it was kind of like filler for what was gonna come up in 2020. I feel he just wanted to release a track that year, so that's why it kind of feels like weaker than, I don't know, Paradigm or Disarray.
Yeah, just like some of the other tracks on that comp, like Kababis or Kababis, however you pronounce it. That's also kind of seems like Infected Mushroom just making a track for the sake of making a track. Although, if we want to focus on 8 Year for a second, one Way Down, really good track. Problems got a lot of hate, but personally I enjoyed it. It was nice to see Stephen walking back again. And then, Motion's kind of massive. A lot of people dislike Back to You, but personally I find it very catchy. Of course, like with Laszlo on it, of course it's easy to find it a little disappointing, but I thought it was a very neat track. I didn't care for Let's Roll though, and I think that and the other one, Feel Alright. I actually do like that one, despite the fact that most people don't care for it, but I thought it's really cool.
I think the second week of that blows the first week out of the water.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny. But
I do think Rogue, since Feel Alright though, I think he's been he only had Move Me and New World. Never mind. I was going to say, I thought he had more releases since...
Well, because he had Let's Talk 2 weeks before Feel Alright.
I never really cared for Let's Talk, honestly.
Yeah.
I love that track.
That much either, to be honest.
Yeah, I get the appeal, but I was hyped about it because it's Rogue,
But Rogue's been around since the beginning, He's an OG.
And he's been consistently good at every genre he does, so... Even though he's
Fortress, really good track.
Oh, yeah.
Top 100 worthy, actually. So good.
Track.
Yeah. That's peak Rogue Future Bass.
And he's been doing it since 2013. I think he had the first Future Bass on the label. He's really been working on it for quite a while, so... it's just kind of interesting to see the progression.
Yeah, but Fortress is so clean. It's so good.
Yeah.
Though Rogue, I'd say, in my opinion, doesn't have as much as standout tracks as one would like. Because you have those trap standout tracks, but objectively, I'd say they're not his best produced tracks. Yeah, sure, they're gamer tracks and all that, but...
Yeah, I'd say since Fortress, he hasn't had anything too noteworthy, if you ask me.
Yeah, same.
Mirage, Oceans, Move Me, all that stuff is nice, but I don't think it's anything that's a wow track. And then I think in between Fortress, then the next one down from 2018, you got to go back 2 years, Imperfect Views. So everyone knows that one's a really good track.
Yeah, and you also have not Future Bass, but you have Drive Away, which is, in my opinion, his best track.
Really that's amazing.
Yeah.
Night After Night is also really nice. I tend to forget about it, but it's a nice track.
Yeah. Though I'd say Drive Away is a pretty great track, but then you get to that last drop, and it's nutty. It's actually nutty.
And then finally, you get back to his standout, I don't want to say this is his peak era, but I think this is his most notable era, where back in 2013 you have From the Dust and then Through the Dark, that EP, where, From the Dust, everyone is crazy about it, nuts about it still, almost 7 years later, which I think is kind of, because it's just something that is a really different track for the label. You don't tend to hear that kind of production with the vocals over it unless it's one of Tristram's old tracks, so it has that kind of nostalgia feel to it as well.
I'd say I'm a bit disappointed that a lot of like the styles that were like pioneered in 2013 didn't stick a whole lot, because you had like Tristan drum step and those kind of stuff, but those really only stuck with the artists that made them. And I'd say it's kind of disappointing that we didn't get like different artists trying like switch ups of the same style.
Yeah,
like we got with dubstep and all that.
And I'm looking over there right now, and yeah, this is a pretty solid era. Like if you're looking at Muzz, this is when Timberwolf and Draining Atlantic, that EP, this is that era of Muzz. And then
this is when like Booster or Buster, I don't know how to pronounce it, when he
Buster
started. This was also 7 Minutes Dead.
Yeah,
like his
Homebound
peak.
right there.
Ooh,
like, and this is just like and Wuxia. This is in between.
Oh my God.
From the Dust and Through the Dark is all like 4 of those. Like this is kind of, and then don't even get me started. I know this isn't as popular as the other ones, but probably my favorite one is Mr. Fiji Ouija's Friends EP, which is still in that gap right there with Nebula. So good.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean,
I'd say still my favorite Fidge EP is probably Growing Up.
That's a really good one as well. But yeah, it's kind of sad to see like how you mentioned like not only did no new artists kind of do stuff like this, but the artists that did do the stuff like this have since drastically changed their styles. You know, Rogue's doing something completely different. Muzz is doing something completely different. Faint as well. I think we got like Solace as his last track, which is, I mean, it's a similar style to Homebound, but it's a lot more like pop, you know, trying to, you know, with the vocal oriented. So
yeah.
And even Mr. Fiji Ouija with what was his recent one? The collab. I'm forgetting. I'm blanking.
LA 2016.
Yep, that was his most recent one, and I still think that he's doing really good, but you can't deny that it's definitely a very different style. Like he still has like the vocal chop thing going on, but you know, a lot of like the specifics are much different.
I'm gonna say this right now. Fidge's best track is Aphasia, and you can't change my mind.
Yeah, that's a pretty
my
safe.
Third favorite track on the label. It's
like my 7th or 6th favorite track on the label. It's like peak.
Yeah.
That genre is peak.
Actually, my favorite is probably We Are the Lights. Is very collab.
Yeah, that one's very close.
Really nice.
Yeah, just Aphasia, like the idea and the thought behind it is so good, and the track itself is like incredibly nice.
And
like you can't go wrong.
Is that it doesn't sound weird, but it also doesn't sound anything like what you'd hear on the label. Like, you know, like it doesn't even sound like his other stuff. Like it's chill, but it, you know, you can't say like, oh, it's garage or, you know, like dubstep or whatever.
Yeah, it's a lot more down tempo.
And like the drums are kind of like hip hoppy with like the sprinkly 808s. I don't know. It's just, it's one of those things like we mentioned the other day when we were talking about Eckel, how he has a fantastic production, but also crazy ideas where they're all different, but they all work together very well. I think we're kind of seeing the same thing with Aphasia and that kind of style.
That's why we need more experimental type music on the label.
Yeah, we need more.
We need like a new style, because I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we have Ellis. That's like the freshest one, new artist so far, and I'd argue Bensley, but
Yeah.
I don't
Also-
know if everybody agrees that Bensley's great, but
Yeah.
Also Glacier, but it's probably going to be another year before he releases a track.
True.
because
like
he himself said that he was slow making tracks.
in retrospect, like his tracks are so like heavily textured and like really varied, but also it takes him like years to make them. So
Yeah,
makes sense.
it's worth it though, because A Verge View is such an like amazing track. I'd argue that's my favorite track of the year so far. It's
Dang.
that or Margarita, maybe.
Yeah, that's another really good one. But yeah, honestly, I definitely say that he's a very fresh artist on the label for sure. But yeah, it is kind of sad to see how maybe not so much with UV9, but with UV8, it was such a samey compilation. It was either like Broke Step or Bass House, and that was 90% of it.
Yeah.
So it would be so much nicer to see people trying something new and a much more varied compilation and a label.
And yeah, that's probably why people love Reaper so much, because he came in like a very great time. Because you have all these Bass House Bro Step releases, and then you have like a sudden Sawtooth and Oblivion.
Yeah. I guess that's everyone loved him in UV8 because that was the standout. The only other drum and bass on there was Isolation, I believe. So it was
Berserker.
Berserker as well. But aside from that, it was kind of like deep in the pits. It was, honestly, I'd argue it was probably one of Monster Cat's weakest compilations post-split.
Yeah,
and there was UV5.
Like a while ago, I did like the averages of all the ratings, and I think UV8 was actually like the lowest rated one since I think like 014.
Yeah,
damn,
it was rough.
Yeah, UV8 wasn't great, but I'd argue it's better than UV5.
Yeah, UV5 was also not like, I think UV5 had more tracks I disliked, but also more tracks I liked. But with UV8, it was just a lot of tracks where it's like, I don't care for it. It's just a song that exists,
Yeah.
Even like UV5 had like tracks like Two Minds, Fault, Awa, Paradigm. Even like
Time Goes By.
Yeah. Like This Feeling, which isn't that good, but at least it's like unique, sort of. Mm-hmm. Rituals also. Yeah,
you have like unique tracks, but I don't know, they don't really work. In my opinion, some of them don't really work. Like, I despise This Feeling personally, and I'm not big on Rituals either. So,
you guys heard the the alternate version of This Feeling that's on Ricky Son's YouTube channel?
Yeah, because it got leaked and then he had to change it, I believe.
Well, actually, as someone who had the leaked version from a while ago, the leaked version is extremely similar to the released version, but this one that's on his channel, I think it was like theorized that it was like the original version that he sent, and Monster Cat had told him to make it more like radio friendly. Because it's definitely it's probably one of the weirdest tracks that he the original version would be one of the weirdest things that he's made.
Yeah, I haven't heard a lot of Ricky X Sand's music. I don't think I've heard much of it at all aside from This Feeling. So it would be neat to see that if he had stayed on the label and wasn't just like a one-off, if he would have brought something kind of new and different.
Yeah.
We can't talk about uniqueness and not talk about Prometheus though.
Yeah.
True.
Actually, one of my favorite tracks on the label blew me away on first listen.
Yeah, Ramses B tends to be, or Rameses, I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but tends to, I don't want to say hit or miss, but like hit or I don't really care about it, because, with Forever, it's like, it's a nice track, but not too great, but, Prometheus, Something Real, Virtuality, he's had some really solid ones, both on and off label, like Spacewalk has some fantastic
Spacewalks are incredible. Honestly, the new one, Alpha Sen, like the relatively new one, is incredible. Like, you have, I don't know which track is standout. How to choose a track when every single track is great.
True.
He's such a good producer, in my opinion. I'd argue some of his like dubstep centered stuff like is kind of off-putting and not that great, but
like that, what was that one EP a long time ago? Oh, like Breathing Underwater or something like that.
Oh yeah,
like that stuff. Like it's
no, really I don't know if it was Breathing Underwater. What's that the name?
I think it was just Underwater.
No, yeah, I think so. I don't know.
I'm checking.
I think Breathing Underwater was the name of a Rocket League track.
Yeah, it was just Underwater, and then Serenity was the other one. And then he had another one that was Transformations, and then his remix of the Vice Tone track that I'm blanking on. Like that stuff is really Heartbeat. Like that stuff is like it's really unique and has like some wacky like like design and composition. But yeah, I definitely have it definitely clicks with me a lot less than some of like his drum and bass stuff or some of the other stuff he's put out that's really good.
I'd say, and his like glitch hop is great. Yeah, maybe I have a lot of right now I'm organizing my top 100 tracks on the label.
Nice.
And I have like 7 or 6 tracks from Ramses B so far. It's like Darkest Place is the closest one to number 1. That's my favorite from him. Yeah, he's pretty consistently great. Though I gotta say, I may be one of the few people that genuinely enjoys Ready to Go.
Yeah, I don't care for Ready to Go. I don't dislike it.
Yeah,
But it's another one of those where it's like, I just don't find it too interesting, to be honest.
His D&B tends to be like hit for me because I always enjoy it.
So what do you think of Forever then?
I love it.
Nice.
It's all right. I think a lot of I think with quarantine, with me listening to a lot more music, a lot of the tracks that I listen to and think are like mediocre are a lot of the reason why is that I've listened to a track like a few days before or after that I love a lot more, and the other one kind of like gets pushed aside. Like for Forever, I think that was when like Mountain Rest by Plusle got released, which I listened to a lot more. The Bensley track was released after like a Gyrofield track that I put in the recommendations for UV9 got released, which also has like a lot of similarities.
Yeah, I see that. That's which one did you it was Ya Think. Nice.
Yeah.
And a similar one now looking at the recoms is with Art of Astronomical Wisdom came out like 2 weeks after Silence. And Art of Astronomical Wisdom, I put it like top 10 on the comp, but I like Silence even more. So I think that did, I don't want to say it hindered it a bit, but it makes it whenever I'm like, yeah, I can listen to Art of Astronomical Wisdom or I can listen to Silence. So it's just
actually
a unique track.
The opposite for me, because I don't know, I think what really works on Silence is great too, but I think what really clicks with me in ARP is like the fast melodies throughout this whole track. I don't know, I find them like really satisfying. Like those few seconds before the drop when he does that really fast melody before the drop starts. It's I don't know, I find it like really, really good. He's had a great 2020 in my opinion. I don't know if Flying Nimbus is everybody's favorite track, but
it's a good one.
Julian
like styles there.
Oh yeah, I think Julian Calor in general is just like an artist. Like he hasn't made anything bad in my opinion, but he also hasn't made anything that like stands out as like a big favorite of mine.
Yeah, that's the same for me.
Like I see him on the release schedule and I'm like, oh, okay.
For me, usually I really enjoy almost all of his tracks, but there's none where it's like I enjoy it way more, than the other ones. Because usually on the compilations, he's almost always, actually I'd probably say he's always top half, but I don't think he tends to crack the top 5 unless it's like a really weak compilation. But he's just a consistently good artist, is what I'd say.
Yeah, same. Aside from like No Fear Anymore, in my opinion.
Really nice track, yeah.
I don't know. I like it, but it feels weaker, a bit weaker. I like his like more upbeat, faster stuff.
The one that I found to be kind of weak, which didn't end up getting put on a comp anyway, but Follow Me was one that I found to be kind of that I didn't care for it as much, but I know a lot of people do like that one.
Like that one. His Dream Odyssey EP was
Oh yeah,
as
I forgot
a
about that.
as a birthday release was kind of boring. Cause no. 3 of his weakest tracks on that. You have Dream Odyssey, which is good because it's like an 8-minute long track. But I'm not a huge fan of Time, and Galactic Trumpet took some time to grow on me, and at that time I didn't really like it.
Yeah, Galactic
And
Trumpet is
besides-
like Space Flute, but not as good.
Yeah, and besides, the next day, Cold Ground EP came out, so
Yeah.
I kind of just
That
forgot
just blew
about
it out of the water. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Cold Ground EP was fantastic.
But the funny
But-
thing is that
Yeah.
looking right here is that the previous day we had IV4, but the day before that you had, of course, the best of the 3 when you're talking about Space Odyssey, Cold Ground. Of course, this one's better than both of those combined. You have the Slushy EP. So,
Yeah, of course, absolutely amazing.
Oh Lord.
so I will say, Katz, at least you didn't get the Slushy EP for your birthday.
Yeah.
Thank God.
What are your guys' birthday releases?
Ooh, let me check mine real quick.
Because mine, I've never had like a good release. First one was Tonight by Stereotronic, and then After Dark by Pilot, and then Slippy's EP, and then Where I Belong.
Which one was Slippy's EP again?
Flux.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, mine have been kind of weak as well. Nothing bad, but just okay tracks. You and Me, which is a nice track. Then Crescendo, which is, you know, I'd say it's a stronger track, but it's not my favorite on the comp. You know, if I got something like, Lift You Up, like that would have been kind of epic. And then the most recent one was in 2017, Got Your Love. So I haven't had one since then.
Oh.
I have a very weak birthday release like thing. I have got, except for like one track which I kind of care about because of nostalgia value, but I have Insomnia by Fiji.
Yeah.
I have To the Stars by Breakin'. Aloha by The Uncustom, I think.
Yeah, that's a nice
That's how you
one.
pronounce it. And Hey by Stephen Walking.
Honestly,
Which is,
I'm
I
not
don't
gonna
care
lie.
about.
For me, I think that's probably that's a pretty good lineup. I won't lie.
Yeah,
To the Stars is legendary.
Yeah.
Aloha's a nice track. It's not anything fantastic, but I think it's nice. And I actually do like Hey. It's
I never cared about him much.
I guess it's
Personally.
just the whole era of like Hey, like that 2016 year is one that I remember vividly for some reason. Like seeing all those tracks come out, because I remember that I was because this was back when I listened to the music on the YouTube channel, and I got so mad about they took away the stars that I subscribed to Crewcax's stars channel where he just upload them all the stars the next day.
Yeah.
So I guess that's why it stuck with me a little bit more. But Hey came out during that era, so it's just a bit more memorable to me when you compare it to a lot of his other tracks, which tend to be a lot more forgettable, especially with Stephen Walking.
What happened to the Addicted Yako remix? Wasn't that gonna be coming out?
You know what? I'm kind of happy that that's not.
Yeah, same, but yeah.
I'm almost like suspicious because Yako was like one of the 3 like Chinese artists that Monster Cat hyped up, and he's the only one that's just vanished. So I'm wondering if like Bad Boy got such a negative response that
He's dropped the biggest track of the year and then dipped. How could he?
The best track of last year, totally not a 0.5, and the worst track of last year. Because, you know, Brosip Strikes Back has entertainment value, but this doesn't. This just doesn't. Like, it starts out nice, but then it goes downhill really quick. But it goes so downhill.
The sad thing is that people were sharing around Yako's profile where it's like, yeah, the music's not that good, but the music that he had out it was bad, but it was bass house, and Tokyo Machine's a bass house artist. So I was expecting at least something like that. I didn't want to put my expectations too high, but then my already kind of meh expectations, and then you have Bad Boy just right on the ground.
Like the drop is so horrible. I no, just no.
We got to figure out a way to close out that's not like this is the end of the podcast. What are you guys thinking?
That's pretty much like the only way to end it, though.
Yeah.
I actually have never heard like any podcast, so I have no idea how they usually end it. Do they just have like a roar sample at the end, and it's like
That's
later days?
usually for podcasts like this, it's usually just like it kind of there's either like a special like Q&A or like a special thing that they do always at the end, and then they just end it, or it just abruptly ends.
We can't really do Q&As though. Yeah, we should just say like bye and and then the
so bye.
Yeah.
Because whenever I say let's do it, then we can just have it silent because we don't know who's gonna say it, or if we're just gonna all do like a creepy unison thing. Yeah, we should do that. Like,
let's not do that. It's gonna sound like if we're doing like a ritual of some sort. It's gonna be terrifying.
Okay, so what do you guys want to do? What are you thinking?
I don't know, just say like, hey, thanks for watching the podcast. This is the end. Subscribe to Catalog Ranks, join the Discord. Yeah.
Okay, that's it. I'm keeping that.